Welcome to the Board of Library Trustees special meeting Monday, February 24th. I now call this meeting to order at time 7 o'clock. Recently, regional and local elected and appointed bodies have been subjected to disruptive, racist verbal attacks by anonymous callers during virtual public comments. The City of Mountain View is fully committed to racial, religious, and cultural equity and justice as we strive to create a welcoming, safe, and inclusive community for all. This advisory board commission welcomes respectful and non-threatening public comments regarding matters over which the advisory body commission has jurisdiction. Comments deemed otherwise pursuant to the Council Code of Conduct and Government Code may be grounds for immediately terminating the speaker's non-hearing. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. Now, ask the library director to see the roll call.
Chair Kristen Higaki. Vice Chair Kuldeep Basta.
Present.
Member Eric Merlin.
Present.
Member Sharon Sue. Member Barbara Wiesen Bear.
Okay, minutes approval. Minutes for the January 27th, 2025 special meeting have been delivered to board members. If there are no corrections or additions, a motion is in order to approve these minutes. Comment. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on an item on the minutes approval? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press or star 9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second. Chair Higaki. Vice Chair Basta.
Approved.
Member Nearly.
Approved.
Member Sue. Approved. Member Wiesen Bear.
Oral communications. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the board on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are allowed to speak on any topic for up to 3 minutes during this section. If there appears to be a large number of speakers, speaking time may be reduced to no less than 1.5 minutes. State law prohibits the board from acting on non-agenda items. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on non-agenda items? If so, please click the raise hand button on Zoom or press star 9 on your phone. Okay, so move on to donations. There are no donations. Presentations. Adult library literacy services.
So we have Mark Jack, our librarian, who's going to present on adult literacy service. And he's virtual with us. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Mark, and start. Thank you so much for presenting tonight.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. My name is Mark. I've seen some of you here before. I think about a year ago, I presented on some of these programs. So for some of you, it'll be a bit of an update. And I won't be going too in depth to all of them. But if you have any questions, please let me know. And everyone can hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Great. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started here. Okay. Okay, hopefully that's working all right. So tonight, as I kind of mentioned, I'll be talking to you about a series of programs here at the library, which I would characterize broadly as relating to continuing or adult education. Obviously, I could characterize a great many of our digital resources, programs, and perhaps the whole second floor as related to adult education. But tonight, I'll focus on these 4 programs you see up on the screen. First, I'll touch briefly on the ESL Conversation Club, before moving on to more detailed discussion of the Learners Program and Career Online High School program, alongside the related Career Success Allowance program. So like I said, some of these are new. Some of these have been going on for quite some time. The ESL Conversation Club, for instance, has been a long-running and popular program here at the library, helping English language learners of all levels to practice their spoken English. Each week, in small groups, we cover a different topic Oftentimes those topics are recommended by the participants or our volunteers, or I create them based on need or interest. And with those topics, we create a handout with relevant vocabulary, idioms, discussion questions. But as I remind participants every week, they should feel free to discuss whatever topic they want. They just need to do it in English and to the best of their ability. During the pandemic, it moved completely online, like most things. And when I took over, it was still online. I took over in the summer of 2022, and at which point we were averaging around 10 to 12 participants. As things began to get back to normal and open up, we moved to a hybrid model. So both Zoom and in person. And in this picture here, you can see I'm over in the corner participating with the people in the room, and you can see my computer in the background there where I have the Zoom participants that I will moderate as well. Since then, we have grown the program to the robust participation rates we have now. Currently, I have 3 wonderful volunteers who are on hand to lead discussions in the small groups, answer any questions about American culture or pronunciation, and otherwise help with the average of 18 to 20 people that attend the weekly event in person. While I focus on the Zoom participants mostly, some of whom join all the way from China, other parts of the state, and sometimes just down the road from the library. We have an average of 7 to 10 people join on Zoom. And every week we consistently have returning regulars and new participants. The next program I'd like to speak to you about is the Learners Program. This is one of the programs that I presented on about a year ago to the board. This new, like I said, roughly year-old adult literacy program provides Mountain View residents age 18 and above who struggle with reading and writing in English with personalized one-on-one tutoring with trained volunteers. This is a learner-centric program where learners assert their own goals and work with their tutors to achieve them. To help guide and focus these goals, we use the California State Library's Roles and Goals form, which divides learner interest into 1 or more of 4 categories, which you can see on the screen here. Lifelong learner, general will to improve their lives, worker, maybe they want to get a new job, at home, as a family member. That could be deciphering doctor's bills or just reading to their child, helping them with their homework. And finally, community member or citizen. Maybe you're reading the newspaper, keeping up with day-to-day events, reading voting guides, becoming an informed citizen. Again, these categories are merely a guide, and learners are encouraged to define their own goals about what good reading and writing and speaking mean to them. So when onboarding a new learner, we begin with a fairly lengthy interview, asking them some questions about where they're at, what led them to the program, where they've struggled in the past, and what they want to work on. And that's when we discuss the roles and goals form and get a good sense of what they want to do, what it means for them to be more comfortable with reading and writing. In addition to the initial interview, we provide a brief assessment to try and assess their reading level. We use the Batter assessment tool. This assessment uses increasingly complicated word lists and associated reading passages with subsequent comprehension questions to get a rough estimate of the learner's reading level. We unfortunately only have time to assess reading levels, not writing, but this interview and assessment sets the stage for more in-depth assessment done by the tutor-learner pair after they are matched. The tutors themselves go through a multi-part interview and volunteer onboarding process, and then complete an online self-directed training covering a range of topics that will prepare them to meet the challenges and triumphs ahead. Here you can see some of the modules that we asked them to review. The training takes between 8 to 10 hours, and we ask them to complete it within a month. This represents the minimal time commitment we expect from both tutors and learners. Pro Literacy, the company we rely on for this training, is an industry standard and provides articles, lesson plans, and further training that tutors can use as they see fit. And throughout the time they are a tutor, they have access to these resources, which I think are really great. After 6 months of tutoring, we do a check-in. So the learner will have been creating a profile a portfolio that just represents what they think shows progress. This is also a chance to reassess learner goals. They want to focus on something else, reassess whether it's working for them. Are they getting along with the tutor? Are they benefiting? Does the time still work? Anything like that. Just a good check-in time. Now, of course, we ask that the tutors and the learners check in throughout. And if they ever have any issues, they can come to me. But this is the big check-in moment to make sure progress is being made. Since launching, we have had robust learner and tutor interest. Currently, we have 8 tutor-learner pairs meeting regularly in the library study rooms, and we hope to have 3 more pairs starting in the next several weeks. And you see here I have 140 plus hours of instruction that was taken from about a month ago, and we have onboarded some new people, so it is higher than that. Looking ahead, one thing I'd like to do is build out the resource library. The resource library is where we keep our notebooks, cards, pens, highlighters, things like that, but also the textbooks we use, the other resources. So buying more of those, but also exploring manipulables, which are things that you can move around. So it would be, say, certain parts of words, suffixes, different word parts that you can kind of move around to create words and understand how the language works. They can be really popular for some people and be very helpful. We're also looking into arranging a bi-monthly meeting for tutors to get together and share ideas, and perhaps even a newsletter sent out to participants featuring literacy-related events and resources from around the Bay, and perhaps even contributions from learners. These are all merely at the idea stage, though, and we could go in a different direction, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what we were thinking about moving forward and how to really extend this really valuable program. The next program, the Career Online High School program. This is a wonderful program that provides adults aged 19 and above with the opportunity to earn a high school diploma and career certificate. This online self-paced program requires about 10 hours per week of work and must be completed within 18 months. But with the aid of transfer credit and hard work, several of our graduates have completed the program within far less time. Since starting Career Online High School in November of 2020, the library has graduated a total of 9 students. The process that leads to a high school diploma through Career Online High School begins with the Are You Ready self-assessment survey. Since launching the Career Success Allowance program, about which I will say more in a little bit, 21 of those 79 surveys have been completed. So there's been a big increase recently, big increase in interest recently. Though not everyone will meet the program requirements or follow up with the next steps, it remains a good metric for measuring the overall interest in the program amongst the community. The majority of these were from Mountain View residents who met the program requirements. Currently, we have 8 students making great progress to the program. Graduates have used the diploma and certificate program to further their career, change their career, start their career, or to simply fulfill personal goals or inspire their children. Now I'm going to play a video, and hopefully this all comes through wonderfully. This is with great thanks to Katie Home and Armin Gomez, and of course the Career Online High School graduates who will be featured in the video. So this is a promo video for the Career Online High School that we recently got completed.
We're not hearing sound if we're supposed to be.
Mark, we're not hearing the
There's no sound.
audio.
There we go. Thank you.
It's a great program. It is self-paced, it's completely online. It's kind of built for working adults, people that have all the different challenges of
modern life, working maybe multiple jobs, taking care of your kids, your parents.
I suffered through the pandemic during my second year of high school, and that greatly affected like my not only did it affect like my own personal life, but it ended up seeping into like my academics, especially high school. So once I saw the opportunity to, you know, finish my degree, because I actually never technically graduated high school because the pandemic had set me back so far that I wasn't able to graduate with my class of 2021.
Personally, I had always wanted to go back and finish high school. I had some high school, but I needed to finish, and I always wanted to do that. 1 year turned into 2, and 2 turned into 5, and all of a sudden life got busy and I never finished. It's become more and more important to have a high school degree for professional certificates, technical designations.
And this is a really key ingredient in that. So it's not only doing the Career Online High School program that I think is going to benefit people, but they can use other resources to get other certificates. They can learn coding, they can learn another language, all these things about just improving your life, moving forward. That's what the library is all about.
It's a fantastic program, but just be aware that it's something that's going to take a true commitment to finish.
If it's something that's been dreading like on your mind, I would say just do it and complete it because it's such a like rewarding feeling.
That turned out pretty well. Hopefully you all heard it okay. Now, while the Career Online High School program is flexible and allows participants to complete coursework on their schedule, often, as I mentioned in the video, the very same or similar issues that led to their dropping out of high school remain. That may include needing to work long hours, caring for elderly family members or young children, or simply stress and previous negative experiences with education. So many people will fill out that Are You Ready survey and begin the 2-week-long prerequisite course and go no further. And then again, after completing the 2-week prerequisite course, there is another 30-day period in which participants are involved in the normal day-to-day schooling, but they're able to drop out. And unfortunately, a lot of people do drop out at that point. So the next program I want to speak to you about was a transformative pilot program aimed at combating these difficulties, the Career Success Allowance Program. In September of 2023, the City Council approved funding for the allowance program as part of the City of Mountain View's workforce development and small business assistance initiatives. This program provides monetary support to those students enrolled in the Career Online High School program, and funding was available for up to 10 students. As I mentioned before, the majority of those people who have taken the initial survey are Mountain View residents, and they have qualified for the program. And as I mentioned before, the amount of people just taking that survey has jumped exponentially. Overall, 24% of those who take the initial survey enroll in the program. That's overall in the program. But since July, the beginning of the Career Success Allowance Program, this number has jumped to 40%. Most of the enrollees said, they've heard about the program through friends, through the community service agency, which helps administer the payments, or via the city news release. So they're hearing about it from all different sources, which is great, I think. All have expressed excitement about completing the program and earning their high school diploma and career certificate, saying that the monthly payments were essential to their ability to take the time and effort required. Qualifying for the monthly payments of $720 requires successful completion of the 2-week-long prerequisite course and 2 sections of the main course within 30 days. So the same requirements for entering into the Career Online High School program are there also for the Career Success Allowance Program. If for the Career Online High School program, if those requirements are met, they're provided a scholarship, which is paid for by the California State Library to complete the Career Online High School program and earn their diploma. And then if they're Mountain View residents, they're also signed up for the Career Success Allowance Program. Their information is then provided to the Community Services Agency of Mountain View and Los Altos, who is, as I mentioned, responsible for administering the monthly allowance. Subsequent disbursements require the student to meet monthly progress goals of approximately 2 sections every 30 days and maintain up-to-date contact information. Early completion of the program unlocks the remaining balance of $12,960. We don't want to punish those overachievers who can really get ahead and really complete it early. So far, no one who has entered the program has been dropped from it, meaning they're all meeting their benchmarks, all meeting those goals, which is fantastic. By February 1st, 2025, we have distributed $42,480 to the 10 students in Career Success Allowance Program. Again, the maximum number of students that the program can handle. All are making excellent progress, many outperforming the benchmarks we have set for them. In fact, 2 recent graduates finished in under 6 months. An 18-month program that finished within 6 months. One recent graduate has a new job and is studying to take the test to earn industry-specific credentials. The other graduate, who we'll hear from both of these people here in just a second, the other graduate has used the allowance money to help pay for a very expensive credentialing test that is required for her to enter her chosen career path. I think this has been a wildly successful program, but I'll let our 2 recent grads tell you a little bit more about how important it was. So,
The financial incentive aspect allowed me to actually budget my time and actually put together a strict timeline to finish, because it's not insignificant, it's a significant amount. And so it actually allowed me to put other interests on the back burner in order to finish.
Currently, I am enrolled in a sterile processing technician program, so it's kind of like a trade school program. And for that, I did need my GED or high school diploma equivalent, so that is also why I decided to do this. But the program is $5,000, and you know, I was kind of struggling with trying to make ends meet like at my own house, and trying to find a way to like save up money because $5,000 was a lot. So this allowance money allowed me to save up for my program, and because of it I was completely able to pay off my entire program. So it was very helpful and beneficial.
just a few stories of how it's been helpful. We have, I think, 4 people who are around 40 to 60% finished with the program right now, and they're making great progress. So I think we'll have a few more stories like that. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I know it's a lot of information, a lot of different programs, but yeah.
Jack, Mark, this is a program that is a pilot, that was the way Tracy termed it, and
Yes.
so is there a possibility that it will be renewed or extended? What's the, beyond these 10 students?
Yeah, so it was, like I mentioned, it's the workforce development funds, I believe, were federal funds, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a sort of one-time funding. I really hope that it would be extended, if not 10 students. I mean, I'd love to see 20 students, you know, supported in this way, but as many as we can get, that'd be wonderful, but I'm not sure where we're at with that right now. The program as such was a pilot program. I think it's been wildly successful. Like I said, a lot of people start the program, get into it, are very excited, but then life happens, you know, and they have to take that extra shift at work. They have to care for their child. They're not motivated to finish this thing that's just online, you know, doesn't seem that pressing to them, you know, and this really makes it feel more. I think it really motivates people and really allows them to focus on it. So I hope, I don't really have any information about that, but I really hope that it will continue.
So, Mark, from what you presented, I got a good general understanding of it, which is great. And it seems like, just to confirm, the cash incentives that are offered, they're unrestricted, right? They don't have to be spent in a certain category after they're given.
No, they can use it for whatever they want, because, you know, it could be like the thing that's getting in their way is, you know, childcare. Maybe they can't afford that extra day child to get childcare. Maybe this will help them. They don't have to take that extra shift. They don't have to just be stressed about getting groceries or something like that, whatever it might be. So we don't want to restrict them. So yes, they can use it for whatever they want.
Okay, great.
And I think it's really nice to see that one of the things that, as we saw in that last video, that the money was used for was actually to get this credential to move on and, start her career, which is kind of inspiring, I think.
Capacity? Is 10 the max, or sorry, I didn't quite understand.
Yes, so we were able to do 10 students. So the contract we have with the Community Services Agency runs, I think, be 2.5 years. I don't recall off the top of my head. But because people enter the program at different times, we have to cap it, say, this is the max amount of money. Now, it would be possible that someone could drop out and the rest of their money would not go to them. So it could, could enroll another student. They wouldn't get the full $12,000+ that students get over the course of 18 months. But yeah, the max amount of students was set at 10.
And that's just for the stipend. So
Yeah.
we are still marketing the program, the Career Online High School program, for community members to still apply to get their career, to get their high school diploma for free to the library. Yeah. So that's continuing, Liz.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, Tracy. Yeah.
And also the stipend was budgeted pay for the if you go 18 months, that gives you the amount of time to finish the career online high school. So every month he checks like your progress and then informs CSA to release the funding. But what's nice about this pilot program is that if you finish early, you're also incentivized. As long as you finish, you get the complete amount.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in your first slide, here's the first slide, you were talking about where you have the ESL, I think, community come together, and it was well attended, like 18 people or something like that, and 7. I was wondering how often this happens and whether or not that's like, are they asking for more opportunities, or?
Yeah. So it happens every Wednesday from 4 to 5. And I mean, sometimes we get, we've gotten a lot more people too. We've had some people that have requested that it go a little longer, that there be another day. So there's definitely great interest in it. It's also just really wonderful because people come in and it kind of runs itself at this point, because there's enough people that return and know what they're doing, and everyone's very encouraging. It's all different levels of English language proficiency. But yeah, there has been some remarks fairly recently from participants asking for an extra time, longer time for it. I usually, thank them at the end of at 5 o'clock when it ends, and try to send them on their way. And a lot of people will wonderfully ignore me and keep talking and practicing.
How much library staff time is, rough ballpark, is used to do this suite of programs?
That's a good question. So there's a couple obvious things. Obviously, with the ESL Conversation Club, there's the hour that I'm running it every week, plus another half an hour to an hour creating the handouts that I mentioned. So that's every week. For the learners program, there's so just say onboarding the one tutor and one learner, the interview process, the emailing back and forth for that person just setting up the meeting. It can take, if that happens within a week, I'd say about 3 hours max. It's hard to say because some students and some tutors will have more questions, want more sort of hands-on help from me. We'll talk about the different books and different resources that they can access. So the numbers can kind of really fluctuate. Some people, some of the tutors, it's their first time tutoring, and they can be like, "What do I do? What do I do?" Some of the tutors are coming from a background in education. They have tutored before. I have one tutor who has advanced degrees in I think in early childhood education. So it's different. It's definitely different, but it's also very helpful. And she's actually been some of the things we've talked about has been very illuminating for me too. So that can vary, but within an average week, I'm probably spending a couple hours on that if I don't have a lot of interviews. The Career Online High School program, very similar. It's very front loaded. When I'm getting people involved, there's the interview process. That's a couple hours all told. Once they're in the program, it's up to them to complete it. With the Career Success Allowance program, because I'm checking every month to make sure that they're meeting those progress goals, there is another, say, hour or so. Because sometimes I check and I create a spreadsheet and send it to Career Community Services Agency to say, hey, these are the people that are meeting their goals, release the payment to them. But, not everyone's meeting their goals all the time. Some people I check a couple weeks before that deadline just to make sure everyone's kind of on the ball. And I might write a few emails to someone to say, hey, keep up the great work. I don't want you to lose the funding. I know you can do this. Give them a little encouraging email. And that's been helpful. So there is an extra amount of work for that, but it's not huge. Most of these, it's sort of, other than the ESL Conversation Club, there's a couple hours right in the beginning when you're onboarding someone into the program, and then they kind of take care of it themselves.
Thank you.
Stop this. Anything else? If you think of any questions later too, I'm happy to answer those.
It seems like a great program to advance online, adult education in the community. So hopefully we can continue offering it.
Yes, I so do. Thank you. Yeah, I think they're very rewarding programs for me to be involved in. I really appreciate it. So, and I hope the students, the learners, hope they feel the same way. I think they do.
Thank you, Mark.
But I wouldn't know.
Okay, so now we're on to the director's report.
Mid-year performance measures.
Right, the new business. So the fiscal year 24-25 mid-year performance measures.
Yes, so, some of you know, and some, that don't, a couple years ago, the city hired a consultant to work with all of the departments on revamping all of the department performance measures. So these are the new performance measures, the 6 month, the fiscal year 24-25 6-month performance measures. So all of the departments have been compiling those for this year. Ours, a lot of the same that we had prior, just with some more detail. And what the city manager's office was looking for too in our new performance measures is the new column type to measure if it's a performance related or workload. And the idea behind this is to track if it's a workload tied to workload, if the performance measures are not meeting or heavily exceeding, does it require additional staffing. So it's also to look at staffing levels, staffing needs and so forth. So I'll just go through some of these. Nothing that was shocking or different. The percentage of actual expenditures to the budget are in all of the departments, and are the departments meeting the spending expenditures. We're on target. We're almost 50% as spending our department operations. So it's this is tracked. So if you're, say, at the end of the year, you're 60 or 70% spending your expenditures, but then you're asking for additional operation expenses, then it's saying, well, didn't even spend last year's. We're pretty right to the tight and every year we're roughly around 97-98% spending our expenditures. Some of the lag time on that is our materials, because our materials is our biggest expenditure. Sometimes when we're ordering in April, May, some of the items we're ordering aren't published until June, July. So by the time they come in, they're actually on the next fiscal year. So that's the biggest in libraries, and that's in all libraries that have a July 1 fiscal year.
And good question, you might
Mhm.
already eventually cover this, but when you say patrons served, I'm assuming it's not spliced such that you do it by library ID card, it's just a general, 50 of this event, 100 of this event.
Yes.
So it could be the same people, but twice.
Right. Yes. So the number of visits to the library, we're at about 176,000 people who have walked in our doors in the last 6 months. We're on target. We're usually over 300,000, 350 is what our usual yearly target is. So we're on target to reach that as we have in the past. So it amounts to almost 901,000 people walking in our doors every day. So busy place, probably one of the busiest, if not the busiest city facility. And we're open 7 days a week. So Saturdays are one of our busiest days. Sundays, we're only open 1 to 5, but we're very busy. And here on a Sunday because of the crunch of the 4 hours. So I was just talking to one of the staff on my way up here, and he said, oh yeah, we were busy yesterday. So our total circulation, we're usually the last few years have been over 1 million items circulated. So we're looking on target to really go past that this year. The physical items, 500,000 already. I think I mentioned in our last performance measures at the end of last fiscal year when we presented these to the board, I think in August or September. For the last fiscal year, about 60% of our print materials was children's materials. So still I'm guessing this is going to be, again, our highest circulating or our physical items in the children's room, which is very busy, as some of you frequent it and know how busy it is there. So there's customers are still circulating physical items, and then electronic items continues to increase, ebooks and e-audiobooks. And then so the total circulation is capturing all the physical items. So media, movies, CDs, physical items, second floor items, children's teams, and then the electronic or the ebooks.
Just instead of for the next update, can we include the previous year actuals?
Yes,
So
sure.
I'm looking them up so I can like.
Right, yes, yes,
I
definitely.
mean, everything is pretty much in line, like a little bit
Right.
up is what you'd expect, but I just wanted
To be able to look
it'd be helpful if
Yeah.
we were all on the same page.
and the target.
I wasn't sure if there was a target because I knew that we the consultant redid everything, and a lot of these
Right.
don't have numbers and targets, so. But when there is a direct comparison, it'd be helpful
Okay,
to have that.
Definitely. Yeah, we stuck to the new for this time, but yeah, I understand that. It's hard to not compare to the
Yeah, I mean,
previous.
especially
of
in
it.
circulation business, we have those numbers, so,
Yeah.
but I mean, everything's in line, so it's fun.
And then library of programs offered, which does. We have a measurement as a workload as we increase staff, fill our vacancies, the number of library programs offered and patrons served. So our target was about 20,000 for the year, and we're already almost to that. We've had just a lot of attendance, as you'll see in the director's report. Some of our programs are in the hundreds, obviously our story times especially. There was one that was left blank, the Let's Create program from January 9th. Children's program had 45, so, still just some of our programs, have really high attendance. And then what's new, that, we did in the new measurements is just broke it down by category, by author talks, early childhood literacy, finance and economic, and we wanted to break up the programs just because a lot of these are part of our mission, part of the city council's mission, and their strategic priorities of a community for all. So we wanted to break down and really make sure we're capturing a wide variety of programs, that we're not all we're not just doing one specific specialty. So we wanted to definitely make sure and keep an eye on that we're doing enough multicultural programs, sustainability, because sustainability is one of the strategic priorities of city council, and livability programs. We want to make sure we're just keeping up with our department goals and the city council goals. And then we're also including tours and class visits. The new, do you have any goals towards like using fast use or the new items that you're getting in, like the telescope, Right, that's a good question. So we have a lot of new resources that are newer than when we did these. So we will be tracking, so the state parks passes, we weren't sure those were going to be renewed again in the state funding this year. But we have the 3 telescopes now. We have the pedometers. We'll be getting some of the library of things that we have. So we'll be keeping track of those and capturing those. That might not be part of our performance measures, but we'll be sure to capture those at the end of the fiscal year and update the board on as well. I'm trying to think if those are required to submit, because we submit statistics every year to the state library as well. But we definitely track those. Share those with the board at the end of the fiscal year. Note. I'd be able to add to these, or at least and I know I think I mentioned this maybe at the last meeting, our telescopes had this like the second day before we even really did a huge campaign push, had 80 some, there's over 100 holes, but we added,
Oh, wow.
with donation money, as you know, from the last meeting, there were donations that have come in. We purchased a 3rd telescope kit as the holes were over 100 for them already. So I think the reception was glad. And then moving on to the number of new items received and percent put into circulation within 10 days. This is has been 100% within 10 days. So that's when we get a delivery from UPS of Baker and one of our vendor boxes of books, and they're unpacked. They're put on a cart, they're processed, they're cataloged. They're ready to go. Sometimes there's a hold, those are brought to circulation or customer service as a priority. So it's the process of what does that item need? Some of our items, if it's not available in one of our vendors, we might get it. We look at our several vendors to get that material. Sometimes it takes more processing, but we try to get those out on the shelf within 10 days is our performance measure. And then, like I mentioned, if those items have holds, they get put to the front so that they're processed and cataloged first to get the holds down. And then Bobby had sent me some questions regarding holds, so I wanted to address some of the questions related to holds. So what happens is when we might get 5 boxes, we might get 10, 12, it varies on our vendors, but they're unpacked, they're put on cards. And then if the items have holds, they're put up first because we want to get the holds processed and cataloged first. So the one question was, do we have a number of holds that triggers buy a new copy? So our librarians try to anticipate high usage. So some of our higher, some of the John Grisham's, those we typically would order, or if it's an Oprah book club or something that's been in the news, we would typically order multiple copies, not knowing you don't always know what the hold's going to be. Sometimes I remember years ago when I was doing collection of the book, The Secret, it ended up being, we ordered 1 or 2 copies and then it became this huge in demand. So you don't always know what a book's going to do or the interest. Oprah or a celebrity has a book club and they're reading it, usually increases the demand. So our librarians try to anticipate that. And then if a hold grows like our Telescope kids, we would try to buy extra copies. So it's usually if it's 4 or 5 holds, the librarians will order an additional copy for a print. For movies, it's usually 10 because movies check out gets 2 weeks, 2 weeks. So they go through the whole quicker. So we usually do after 10 holds, we'll order more of the movie. And then ebooks, it varies because if you notice some ebooks there's a book by Mel Robbins right now, The Let Them Theory, that has, I think 100 holds or something. And it will depend on cost. So the librarians will take a look at that. We are in a consortium, so there are other libraries buying, but we'll keep an eye and we meet regularly and say, what's the funding look like for getting towards the end of the fiscal year, where we have a lot of high holds on ebooks. We might move some funds that we know from print materials aren't going to come in time because their publication date is past the fiscal year. Then we'll move print funds to the digital to take care of the high hold. So it's really a lot of moving pieces and just looking at the game pieces and where all of that, but that's kind of the standard that we go by to collection.
When you say consortium, is that a collection of the local libraries just here in NorCal, or is it something?
Yeah, the Northern Digital Library, Northern Digital Library.
California Digital.
California.
NCDL.
NCDL.
For the ebooks,
Right.
but we're also part of a consortium for print materials, in plus.
Yeah, we plus for.
Okay.
It's the history center. Also,
Chapter in this.
yeah.
We did not put the history center
We did.
in. So we are number 6. So number of items returned and percent available for checkout within 1 business day. This was something I know the consultant was really wanted us to have in there. And that's basically when an item is returned, how fast can someone get it? And can somebody check it out within 1 business day? And because we have our automated material handling system, as soon as it goes through the system, it will trigger if there's a hold on it, or it goes on a cart for shelving. But if somebody's in the library and they're on the catalog and they don't see it on the shelf, they'll go down to the customer service desk and ask for it. And it's usually on a cart to be shelved. So it happens within what it's basically 100%. And we say business day because on holidays, obviously, if our system goes down on a holiday that morning, all of our staff are, like, we just had the holiday last Monday. So Tuesday morning, there were additional staff working early to do the returns in case the station went down, to get the items checked in so that they'd be available.
And since our library is typically open 7 days a week, that's why you're just referring to holidays, right?
Right.
Saturday and Sunday are still usually considered
Yeah.
business days.
Yeah, and those are considered our business days because we're open. So that's the one great thing of not all libraries still don't have the automated material handling system. Some they're still checking them in by hand, one at a time. So we wanted to capture that to show that that technology equipment's very important for us being able to have materials available right away. And then total library card holders, about 50 to 60,000 is what we typically have. We do, just to keep our system clean, and every 3 years, if a library card holder hasn't used their card for 3 years, we do purge the records, and it's just to keep a clean record, just in case there's any data breach. You just want to have what you need, absolutely need in your system. And then we've added 12,000 card holders so far. Our average is about 1,000 per month. In September, we added about 4,500 Student Connect card users. So we have a agreement with St. Francis High School and then MBLA High School District. So every September we add the Student Connect cards, so the student digital cards. So that also bumps up our card holders added, good card holders, and that's about 6,000 of that are the students. But even without students, it comes out to, we're adding new card holders, maybe 35 to 40 per day, which is pretty incredible. That many people walking in every day that don't have a card. So we have, I think, yeah, they're coming from all over. I like that. Just an anecdotal story. The other day was at the customer service desk, and a person came in the library and he was from San Francisco, and he just said, "I heard your library was amazing. You have great study room, so I'm here to get a card and use it." So people are coming here from all that.
Do you have any more detailed analytics on that, like in terms of people who are newcomers to Mountain View and they want their local library, or people like this San Francisco person came here, or other kind of categories?
We can pull, and we're able to pull Mountain View versus non-Mountain View. So we could capture that for you all.
I'd be curious to see
The year,
Sure.
sure.
That'd be great.
And then the percentage change year over year. Our target is greater than 5%, and we had, let's see, -9. And as I mentioned, we delete cards that have been inactive for 3 years every December. So this interrupts the total card holders.
Okay, so you have a rough number of deletions.
Oh, and our last one in December, I could pull it. Yeah. Might be able to find it before the end of the meeting.
Not of just-
Or let you know, yeah. And then the total number of study rooms that were in use and percentage of time booked. So we wanted to get this, especially because our study rooms are so busy. The last library conference that I attended, in the summer of the American Library Association, there was a vendor. There's a couple vendors that are selling portable study rooms, which is a room, a quiet room. So it's built with felt material to keep the sound in, but it's a lot cheaper than having to build study rooms. So that's something we're considering for the future if it continues to increase. 66% is a good percentage. If we were up in 80, 90%, we might want to start looking at, the portable study rooms possibility. But they're still in high use.
Is that like hours? So is it like 100% used during evening and then it's
Right, this is total, so there are definitely hours that are busier, and I don't know if it captures it by hour, does it, Melvin? I know we looked at that
It captures it by use,
by just use, but
Yes.
not by hour.
not by hour.
Yeah. But we do know the after-school hours.
it's probably
Fully
three,
packed,
right?
yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, that like,
Yeah.
6%
Yeah.
isn't really telling you the full story.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we are definitely, I look around the library every morning and see where we add things, where we add seating, tables. That's one of our goals this year of adding more seating, possible these portable study rooms because of the need. And then we're continuing to capture the hours of the operation for the bookmobile. And as you know, we went to 4-day operations this year instead of 3. So we've increased that. And then we're just capturing all of these by workload. So we can determine, do we need to assign more staff to the bookmobile, the number of stops, the number of programs, and the materials circulated there. And then number of deliveries to homebound as well. One of our goals this year is to increase the homebound and just get the word out of this service. So we want to determine the workload as well. And then we've pooled number of community events with library representation. So we've been asked to go table at different events, the city's events, the Halloween, the Lunar New Year, those kinds of events are what these events are. We were at the Lunar event a couple weeks ago. It got moved to inside the community center because of the rain. They didn't have to cancel. So we were inside there. So we want to capture that as well. And then number 12 has to do with the email newsletter. That's our biggest way of how we push information, program services, closures, friends book sales to our users. So it's an opt out. So everyone who gets a new library card gets an introduction to the library and gets signed up to the email newsletter. So we have 25,000 subscribers, and then it's continually increasing. And then I wanted to know our percentage of newsletter opened is currently this year at the 6 month is 45%. And we have a high target of over 40. We said 40 because we were ambitious because people really read the library e-newsletter. Not to compete with the City Hall Connection newsletter. But for government, the average percentage of government entities of communication is only 29%. So we're at 45%. So we want to gloat that the library is still government, but people are reading our newsletter. And so our staff do a great job on capturing and highlighting great programs and services, the newsletter. And then the number of Ask Mountain View queries, all of the departments were required to include this, and ours looks really low because we have our own Ask Us way. So our contact us page is different, but this is the Ask Mountain View that is highlighted on the city's homepage. So all of the departments will have this, but ours get so we didn't we can probably capture the others.
With the new website. With the new website, the effective, I'm thinking about the people who are using Ask Mountain View for suggested purchase.
Right.
So
This would have
That's
been
really
rare,
Okay.
yes, because now our catalog features the suggested purchase, which suggested purchase, if that was still through Ask Mountain View, this would have been a lot higher. But now that our catalog offers it, people are going through that, as well as our city webpage. Show you or contact us. So here. So this is where most of all of our communication comes through, rather than the Ask Mountain View. And I wanted to answer some more of the questions Bobby had.
Those kind of get down into the weeds with some of the things, but they came out of reading through your report regarding the Silicon Valley Reads events. And what I did was jumped into the links for all of the different highlighted book lists to see were those books circulating, what percentage were circulating, how current the books were. It was just personal curiosity being a librarian. So some of the questions that Tracy got from me are a little bit technical on that level, but
Yeah.
whatever you think is appropriate.
Okay, yeah, and I'm happy to meet with you after too.
We can do this offline if it's.
Yeah. And I'll just know, one thing about Silicon Valley Reads, because I was gonna mention it in my director's report. So I'm on the board, and so we meet throughout the year and we pick the theme first. And we usually pick it in the summer. And then in the fall, there's a subcommittee that tries to find the books. So the subcommittee reads all these books on the topic, and then they bring the bigger group the recommended books for Silicon Valley Reads, and then we vote on the books. And this all happens. We have it completed around October, November. And so it's not announced until January, Silicon Valley Reads and the books, so it gives us on the board time for me to tell the selectors what the books are gonna be, so they can order them, but I always say, hush, hush, don't tell, but these are the books, so they make sure to have them ordered much in advance so that we have them for the announcement of Silicon Valley
I was
Reads.
looking at some of the numbers and there were some things that were on the short list of the Silicon Valley Reads that have things like 74 holds on them. And it's not clear to me that those holds are going to be sustained in interest. And what it does to throw off your purchasing when you're on a specific topic like that year to year, you may load up to try and meet that full demand and then be stuck with things that are sitting on the shelf, extra copies nobody's reading. So it's one of those tricky things to try to buy for.
Especially with the topics, yeah. And then what happens is because of all the events, some of the authors that if you go to the cook-off, they're selling the books, so then people end up buying and then they don't need their whole. So it's kind of a balance with that.
Trying to anticipate, one was on the middle school list, The Wild Robot. And it has astounding statistics of, so one of these is checked out in every format available and there's huge numbers of holds on them. Compared to many on the list, the longer list that the librarians have put together. You can't really tell without getting into the computer history if it was checked out earlier, but I was going on current checkouts. And there were quite a few that weren't checked out at all. And some are sitting on the display, but they may have checked out a cycle and been returned already. So the earlier noticeable.
Yeah, and we think the theme, we picked AI as the theme and the human aspect as well, because we knew we were very excited about the title and the theme, because we knew it would extend past the lifeline of Silicon Valley Reads with this year. So anyway. So any questions on the performance measure? I have my notes for we do the fiscal year recap in August, but I'm happy to meet with anyone at any time and if we see, I usually look at our statistics at least monthly to see where the trend is and if there's something, an anomaly or something's going too high, too low, that kind of thing, but I'll definitely share it with the board. But I think some of the things that have been increasing in the last several years, obviously because of the pandemic, the ebooks, but coming out, the usage of ebooks, which had been increasing by 30-40% every year prior to the pandemic. Our print materials were going down, but with children's, it's going back up. Some of the adult materials is lessening in print, and I think a lot of people got used to e-readers during the pandemic too. And it's easier to bring a device on a plane when you're traveling, or have 10 books on your device rather than, kids' books are smaller, or you can travel with those a little easier than a big novel and so forth. And then study rooms and seating, as I mentioned, is our goal to look at space and the usage of our space.
It's been discussed about the balance of the library, like if extend it later, how would it change some of these metrics and, and is it something that, what would you optimize?
That's a good question. So the hours. So gosh, the hours here haven't been looked at. We're pretty standard. I tend to look at other libraries over the last probably 5 years, as some of the libraries during the pandemic cut hours, some of the other libraries around us. I know some of the libraries, government jurisdictions, neighboring libraries might be looking at cuts. And if they do so, you know, will they cut hours? Will they restore hours that were cut and so forth? So we try to look at our neighboring libraries. We're pretty standard with our operations. Sunday's our busiest day, the 1 to 5. That's pretty standard for most libraries to be open a short amount of time on Sundays. I don't believe any of the other libraries, neighboring libraries are open past 6 on Fridays or Saturdays. It's pretty typical. Those are. It's something that we could look at in the future. We haven't had customer comments about hours. Once in a while, we'll get one that says be open 24 hours. We've had, you know, yeah, I know the academic libraries try to do that during finals and so forth, but we haven't looking at hours earlier or later. It's something we can consider, and be happy to hear all of your input on that.
Long ago, we had pressure to be open longer, and it was, I have to say, late 80s, early 90s. It was in the old building. They added an hour to the evening schedule, so we were open until 10. Staff hated it. It was really hard to work till 10 and then be back again at 9 in the morning, you know, so, or 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
The next day, and it was really tough. And initial burst of people that stayed that long, it dwindled fairly quickly. And so thankfully, I think I don't know if we went a full year with that as an experiment, but it was such a relief to the staff to try not to stretch that. With being open all those days of the week, the staffing is always a challenge to extend who's working weekends, and are you ending up working a Saturday, Sunday, and the whole rest of the week as a stretch, which often happened. And there were times when you could end up with a stretch of like 10 days in a row that you worked without a day off, just because of the way the schedules worked. So it's a constant issue for libraries, but the hours have been pretty steady state since that one experiment. So it seems to have worked out pretty well. And Mountain View, even in those olden days, had a reputation of having some of the most generous hours. And we rarely, I don't know that we almost ever had to cut back hours. The city was very supportive of that. And we would get the stories of, oh, the system's got to cut hours, and our circ would go way up because people were, you know, were coming to you because they're closed and LaSalle to a circ closed someplace else. We were very fortunate.
You know, through from the economic downturn in 2008 and the library, we never cut hours here ever. So we've had the same hours way before then.
Yeah.
We did lose some regular FTEs, but we kept the hours and just made it work. So we're trying to get back to the FTEs that we had in 2011. When there were, I think, some vacant positions that just went unfilled.
Library usage runs anti-cyclical with the economy drops and the usage goes up. But there's also pressure to cut services and funding within the library. So it's a very, you know, tough balance, and often the cuts don't get returned to you when things improve. There's very often not a look back to say, can we add more hours? Can we add more people? Can we add it? You really have to fight to get those things, sometimes even just back to where you were before the dip.
And at 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. is a pretty standard library hours, because scheduling staff, as we said, is a puzzle. So you have most people are scheduled 9 to 6. So they come in at 9 and spend the hour prepping. So getting everything prepared, the cash register, the systems, turning everything on. to get ready to open at 10. And then you need a second shift. So this is always hard to explain to other departments that are 8 to 5 and then everything's closed. For the library, we're open now, so there's staff at all of the service desks, so they have to start at 12 to finish at 9 and have, an hour lunch, but they need to come in to give the first shift a lunch break. So if you're open later, 10 or 11, the second shift couldn't start till 1 or 2, which you couldn't give the first shift a lunch break till 2 or 3. So it's definitely, that's been why libraries have been the standard with those hours during the week.
Much of my career, I worked 9 to 1 on Mondays and came back 6 to 9 and worked a split. And splits weren't uncommon in those days. They became more careful about people who lived out of town and tried not to give the splits to people. But if you lived in town, you got lots of split schedules.
And our staff do that once in a while. We try to have them telecommute if they're, have to present at the meeting or something and they're scheduled to have a training in the morning, we'll the option to telecommute and then come. Questions? Measures? Now. Oh, yeah. Yes, we'll have him do it now. Mark so one of the announcements we have is we just launched last week Press Reader, which is a database of newspapers and magazines, hundreds and hundreds of them. And Mark launched this and did some training with the staff, so he's gonna give you a quick intro on that. Thanks, Mark.
No problem. Hello again, everyone. So yes, as I kind of cut out of sound there when I became a panelist, but I believe as Tracy was saying, Press Reader is great news service we have. I don't know if everyone here has used Flipster before, which we've had for a while now, but it's very similar to that. Gives us access to over 7,000 magazines and newspapers. I think covers 60 different languages. You can also translate articles into 18 different languages. There is an audio feature, so it's great for accessibility. You can click on an article and it will be read to you, which is really nice. I'll do a quick demo. Before I do that, one of the issues with this is that I am on the library VPN. So if you're in the library on the Wi-Fi or you're on one of the public computers, you just click on the Press Reader and you get immediate access. So it'll probably show me with having immediate access, but I'll try to show you what it will look like if you're outside of the library. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. We'll look at the desktop first, and then if everything goes well, I will transfer it to my phone and show you what the app looks like. The app itself is has some different functionalities. I think it's a really nice tool. I'm sure some people would be reading these on the desktop, but a lot of people will be reading on their tablet or on their phone. So when you sign in, this is what it looks like. This is Press Reader. Move some things out of the way here. So you can click select publication, or you can just close out of this. So I am signed in right now. So these are some of the publications that I have listed. I'll just give you a sense of what it looks like. So it is like Flipster. It's not, say, the New York Times, like the digital edition. When you log in, we still have that. Of course, you can click in and get the redemption code and sign into the New York Times if you want. But for the actual paper as it's printed, it'll look like this. Here's where you can listen to it. You can download it and have it added to my publications and have it downloaded whenever there's a new issue. So you can always be ready when you are on that flight and have forgotten to look at it, to read it. So again, you can go back here and see previous issues. They go back about 60 days. So it's great for newspapers, for magazines, depending on how it's published. You'll have less of a back file, less of a previous issues.
And when you say download, does it download the press reader itself, or does it download the PDFs like Flipster would do?
So what it does, it kind of like Flipster, or with some like Hoopla and Libby, I believe also functions the same way. When you're downloading it, you're downloading it within the app, so it's sort of there, stuck in the app. So it's available to read offline, but you don't really have you're not downloading it as a file, let's say. Now you can do that, and that would be the one workaround if you're working with the desktop model. You can print and share the article, so you could print it as a PDF and then read it that way.
Right.
Would be the workaround. So you can see there's like a highlight. This goes immediately to text view, and you can do some things with the right click. You can comment on it. You might see some articles with a little sort of comment bubble by it and a number, and that would be people who've commented on it. You can translate the article, and it does it pretty immediately. Let's just click French. So as an example. So there you go. It's in French if you want to do that, which is pretty great, I think. And again, like I said, you can print it. If you are logged in, you can share it with people. You can, again, save your favorite publications. You can save searches. The search function is really wonderful. And one of the things that's great is that you do not need to sign in. You don't need to have an account. You can see I'm signed in here. This is on my personal account. I think it's really great to do that, but if you don't want to sign in, and from there on out, once you sign in, you can sign in with your email and your own password. Again, similar to the other platforms we have, like say like Hoopla. So we can see, let's see, magazines very similar. It looks like this. You can again look at previous issues, kind of go through. There's zoom in, some nice things here. Anything that's highlighted, you can click on, and it will take you to text view, which is a little bit easier to read. But if you really want to do it this way, you can. So again, functions very similar to Flipster. So if you've already used that, it'll be very similar. Let me see if I sign out here. I think I can show you what it looks like. Okay, so again, it's bringing me right into it and not making you sign in because I am on the library network. But yeah, so outside of the library, you'll get this pop-up. So if you have already set up an account, it'll go to your account here, or you just click library or group and then search for Mountain View. There it is. Click on that and then put in your library card number and your PIN number. And that's how you sign in to it outside of the library. Now, again, once you do that, it will give you the option to create an account, but you don't need to. I would recommend that people do, but you don't need to. So let me see here. You can see some of the things here, like it's pretty great. You have like a long list of things and there's categories. You can go to animals, pets. I mean, there's tons of stuff, lots of magazines, lots of newspapers. We have a lot of people in the community that maybe just moved from out of the country. I know in my ESL conversation club, I have a lot of people join for several months and they're here visiting their children, but they are going to go back. If they want to stay up to date with what's going on back home, there's a lot of newspapers and magazines for their country, their region. It's really kind of amazing. I think the last time I searched for tea, so let's do that again when I was doing training. So the search function is kind of nice. It gives you, obviously this is going to be a huge result here, but it gives you any time that was mentioned, your search. You can save your search. That's really nice. It also goes back further than what's actually available. So some of these might be older. You might not actually get access to the full article, but it'll give you at least this little, these first few sentences, which I think is really nice. Go back here. Again, if you sign up for an account, you can share articles with people, send little clips, send whole articles, which is really nice. Okay, I am gonna attempt to switch it over to my phone here and show you what the app looks like real quick. Let's see if this works.
Unmute.
You're on mute.
Yeah. God, is like, it's not movie.
Well, I don't know if you can see any of my screen there. It wasn't allowing me to unmute, so I thought maybe I can give you a silent example of it, but I wasn't even sure if you could see my screen. The things you can do on the app that are very quick are, one big thing is, like I mentioned, download the publication to read offline that you can do on the app. And it just has a kind of a better user interface, easier to swipe around. But I think the desktop version is also really nice. I'm not sure why it wouldn't let me unmute. Sorry about that. I'd be happy to poke around a little bit more and show you more if you're interested. But I really recommend checking it out yourself. I've been really loving it and really pushing it, and you know, on and off my hours. I've been really praising it. I think it's a great source.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes, thank
Very
you.
cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Just a couple notes in addition to the print director's report. So Silicon Valley Reads programs are going on strong. A couple weeks ago, we had San Jose State Director, Dr. Chow. He's the director of the School of Information there. And he did a presentation on AI and brought their robot, Rosie.
The library will close in 30 minutes. All computers will automatically shut down about 10 minutes before closing. Please save your documents to an external drive or print them now.
Last Friday, we had for kids and teens, tech take apart program where they took apart computers and phones and things, and there was a line out the door. They had like 40 or 50 kids in there, so they're planning to do that again. It was well received. And Friday, I know some of the schools were out. The teen room was busy with Dungeons and Dragons. We had about 10 teams playing and people, including one of our librarians, around watching all the action of that. So it's been busy in our library. Right before this meeting, we had our Doodle and Discover program for kids where they're learning how to draw. And that was a series, and it'll start up again in or so. Our free tax preparation is twice a week, Saturdays and Tuesdays. That's in full swing. It's almost March, which means we almost can say it's almost the end of tax time. And then this coming Friday, we'll have in our first floor program room, it'll be open for teens to study, if they're prepping for the SATs or just additional space for teens to come in and study. One of our librarians will have a little survival goodie bag for teens, this Friday. We did find answers to some of the questions that you all had during the performance measure presentation. So regarding residents, of our 6,000 new card holders this past 6 months, 4,800 were Mountain View and about 1,400 were non. So majority Mountain View. And then regarding the purging, we purged about 2,500 records that, that cards were inactive. So I wanted to give you that update.
And
And then,
2,500 as a percentage, you know, what that would be.
Fast. 12%. I think I did that right. And then lastly, just some personnel notes. We've been recruiting for several positions. John Costa, who was an hourly library assistant, started last Monday as a full-time library assistant. He's from Mountain View. He's working on his MLIS, so very excited to have him promoted into a regular 40-hour position. And then we are close to announcing a library security services guard for that. And also we will be making an announcement within the next week for our half-time library assistant and customer service. And we will be making an announcement soon for the librarian position in our youth and bookmobile and collection division. Have been announced to staff yet. And then Wednesday, we're interviewing the last department interviews for the librarian position in customer experience and technology division. So very excited that we're filling these positions. That's super exciting. And then our librarians have been interviewing interns, summer interns with the History Center and do some other projects. And they are aghast of the amazing applications, and they're having a hard time picking one because there's so many good intern candidates. So that's very exciting. So that's it for my report. If anyone has any questions. Go to agenda Sunday. Okay. So we are having a special meeting Monday, March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day. The city council strategic work plan. They are actually they're meeting tomorrow night. They'll be reviewing some of their work plan ideas. All of the city council were giving city manager's office their priorities for the upcoming 2-year strategic work plan. So they will be talking about that tomorrow night. And then through the month of March, they will be visiting all of the boards and commissions to get feedback from all the boards and commissions to take back to city council for their April, one of their meetings in April will be establishing their 2-year work plan with the items on that. So there will be someone here from the city manager's office to go over that with you all. So maybe we were here when they did it a couple years ago. But that, I believe, will be our only agenda item for March 17th. We'll have a director's report as well. But I think that will be the majority of the item. Adjournment. Meeting is adjourned. 8:34. Yeah.
Be sure that
Definitely a part of the job.